Naika Foroutan is on her way to work at the Humboldt University in Berlin, where she works in the political science department. Born in Iran, Naika is following the developments there closely.
The way I see it, the regime is going to break up. Either the reformers will manage to introduce rapid change, or Ahmadinejad will build up a military dictatorship. Neither would be what the Islamic State really wanted.
The events in Iran can only really be followed on the internet. Many young Iranians have been bypassing state censorship by placing pictures and information about what's happening on the streets of Tehran on the web. Contacting people in Tehran is also an important source of information.
Yesterday evening I spoke to my grandmother. It was 12:15, but you could still hear shooting in the background, even though here in the news they said everything was quiet. So I can best catch up on what's happening by speaking to friends and relatives there.
As demonstrations continue, the authorities have sought to stop information getting out of the country. But the first reports of demonstrators being killed have caused anxiety and fear around the world. Rallies have been staged in many German cities. Naika Foroutan has attended some of them together with friends and relatives. Many Iranian citizens living in Berlin cast their votes in the presidential election, the majority against incumbent Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
I was so optimistic. Like many others here, I had my hopes up. But an hour after the vote counting, I suddenly knew what they were planning. I couldn't believe they would be so shameless.
Naika Foroutan believes the protest in Berlin reflects the mood in Iran.
I have the impression that everyone is coming together for the same reason, and that is to stop this election fraud going through and to try, together with the people in Iran, to bring about change and do away with this rigid regime of the past 30 years.
Everyone here shares that hope, but opinions differ widely on how Iran should best move forward towards democracy.
You notice that even here in Berlin, where there are demonstrations going on in different places, people don't really accept each other, and they don't see that everyone now needs to unite against the system.
As well as the protesters on the streets, politicians from across the political spectrum have also condemned the election in Iran.
Whatever happened during the election, however the votes were counted, right from the start, it was not a democratic vote, it was rigged.
Violence must not be used against peaceful demonstrators. The election fraud needs to be fully clarified. If necessary, the vote should be declared void. The people should have their vote. We are standing with the Iranians.
Naika and her friends believe the clear response from German politicians is important. But right now, every day brings fresh news of protests in Iran without any sign of tensions easing. The sense of euphoria and hope is giving way to mounting concern.
I fear that the authorities will try to curb the protests by resorting to violence. For the past 30 years, they have had a complete monopoly on power. The protests have been very peaceful. My big fear is that there will be an excessive response, and the authorities will resort to a military crackdown.
More deaths and more arrests. That's what the Iranians in Berlin are most concerned about. An Iran moving not towards reform, but towards even less freedom than before.